I went to the pretrial and they had dropped the charges. I had given Ingrid Chandler the list of the 19 911 calls. There was a letter on the back telling a man named Sterling that the fetus was in my body, that it was still moving. I was telling him to get the 911 calls and then to try to get a lawyer to try to help me. I told Ingrid Chandler I would not take time served because I wanted the state to make the decision at the trial. I needed them to know what was going on in my home. That's what I told her. I wanted the state to know what Austin Meta was doing to me and my child. So I would not take time served like I was guilty. And she said, okay. She took the 19 911 calls. Jim McDougal had told me that he found pages of 911 calls from that apartment. Austin Meta and I used to have an apartment together where he had caught a domestic violence charge, assault, family violence charge, and a rape charge for assaulting me and trying to rape me in the apartment that we shared. He was taken to the county jail on a probation violation. He was on a 2-year probation violation for assaulting a public servant. So I moved and got an apartment by myself, and he got out and came to my home, and my dad, Andrew Jones, had came a little after that, and Austin was attacking me and destroying my home in front of Andrew Jones while I was pregnant and attacked me while I was in labor. And he attacked me, and my father had to jump in to defend me. And then he went to prison when my baby was 6 weeks old. I had Andrew leave my home, and I had Austin leave my home with the police because I didn't want Andrew in my home for other reasons. So I started raising my baby by myself from the time that he was 6 weeks old. But my family had conspired, and Cynthia had conspired, and Austin was conspiring. The white women in the neighborhood was conspiring, and the black men and the Hispanic and the Indians and all nations was up in there poisoning me. Poisoning my groceries and poisoning my water while I was in there raising my son by myself for 2 years. While Austin was doing his prison sentence for violating his probation, ransacking my home. They were more concerned with my color and stealing my child. When he was released from prison, he came back into my home. He said I brought my baby to see him a few times. And he said that he would never hurt me again. And he said he didn't know about the people who was poisoning and surrounding my home. He said he didn't have anything to do with it. And Cynthia O'Vera, his white adopted mother, Lord Jesus, she said she didn't have anything to do with it either. And I told the police, and I reported them to the police, and I reported the police to the 911 operators. And they had the whole neighborhood doing it. Then he came in there and started attacking me in the house and attacking the baby. And he was fleeing in my vehicle, and the police would not go after him. And Cynthia O'Vera was calling the police department, telling them not to help me. He had sex with me the first day. He forced me to have sex with him the first day he got out of prison. And I got pregnant again. And I was calling the police. I missed my period and I started bleeding, and he kept attacking me. And I ran out of the house with a 380 in my purse, and he kept attacking me in the streets. I went into the Baytown Seafood and asked the man to call 911 in the back of the restaurant, and he kept attacking me and attacking my son. And I shot him in the leg after shooting the gun in the air. And the man was involved in the struggle, trying to get him to stop attacking us when I shot him. So then they released me on the charges August 22nd, 2019, after they held me in the back of the Montgomery County Jail, poisoning me and my child, me and my pregnancy. And they told me that someone had to come and get me in order for me to be released, knowing that all my family left me back there to be poisoned. Knowing that all my friends that knew he was abusing me, so-called friends, foes, left me back there to be poisoned while they all ran up behind Austin and Cynthia because they were white and because they had money and because they were jealous of me. and jealous of my life. And the man Blackjack, he showed up after they finally released me on my own because I called my sister who was living in Texas, and nobody showed up after 2 hours of them telling me I could go home and be released. Nobody showed up to come and get me, so the white woman said, I'm going to just go ahead and release you. Then the man Blackjack came after they released me on my own, and I was finna walk out of the jail. I was finna walk out of the doors on my own. I was already released and had signed my paper and got my ID, and I was walking out on my own, and he showed up. Turns out there's rumors that he's a pedophile, and he told me afterwards that he had been to jail for assault. He told me I was going to come with him to his house, that he would take me in and help me out. But when he brought me there, he was trying to provoke me in his home, trying to force me to have sex with him, trying to give me pills. And he took pictures of my body and my baby. And he was I was still pregnant. He saw my baby, but I was very skinny. I met my sister. She gave me $200 after telling me she was on the way and still never showing up. I met her, and she gave me $200. He took me to get some clothes. He didn't want to take me to get the clothes. They didn't release me in my clothes. They released me in an outfit that made me look like a crackhead on the streets. And he was mad when I asked him to take pictures of my belly for evidence that I was pregnant when I got out of that jail. I'll turn the light on. And he was getting attitude. And when I realized that he was violent, he had a whole bucket of mosquitoes, a bucket of water in there to make the mosquitoes bite me up in his home, and they was leaving the door wide open in the middle of the country. They had me in a nasty trailer, and I called my sister Larissa Jones, and I called my daddy Andrew Jones, and I said, this man over here trying to attack me, and I'm leaving. Because I ain't about to have to be going back to jail. Because another man attacking me, and this man was black, and my baby daddy was white. And I told the man, I flat ironed my hair, and I stayed up the whole night the next night. And the next morning, I tricked him. And I said, drop me off by the Salvation Army. And I was dressed and I was looking pretty. I wasn't looking like no crazy patient like they were trying to paint me out to be with my hair all over my head. And he said, what did I do? What did I do? And I said, just drop me off by the Fiesta, which was by the Salvation Army in Conroe, Texas. And he tried to start an argument on the way there. You want me to call them mental people? You want me to call them crazy folk? You want me to tell them that you're a mental patient? You want me to tell them, And I didn't say nothing because I knew my rights. The charges was dropped. I said, just drop me off. And he dropped me off. And I started walking towards the shelter holding my baby bump. And the shelter was closed. But I made him take me to the food stamp office after he took me to get those clothes from the mall. And they gave me emergency food stamps, so I had food stamps. Because there wasn't no food in his house for me to eat. And then I went to the gas station and got me a whole bunch of snacks and food. And then I went to sit by the laundromat, and a man named Kiwi and then Reverend Stewart, they came up to me talking about seeing that I was pregnant, and I told him, talking about he'd take me into his trailer up on his grandfather and his grandmother's property if it was okay with his grandfather. He asked his grandfather, they went talking to one another, and then he said it was okay. When I went over there, they had all kind of trailers on the property. His Uncle Pug, who was in jail for murder, had just got out for murder. He was over there. Cat and Cookie, and she had charges. They had a house, and they brought me in a trailer, and then their auntie had a house, and there was 2 other trailers over there, or 1 other trailer. And when I went to Kiwi's trailer, it was holes in there, roaches and stuff crawling all over their feces, all over the toilet. And he was trying to force me to have sex with him. And then I went to Cat and Cookie's house, and I showed them my stomach, and they were saying, oh, it must be a stone pregnancy. Ain't no way she been pregnant with that baby. It's going on almost 2 years. And then I let Kiwi feel that it was moving, and the baby was moving. And he felt it. And I fell asleep on the couch at Cookie's house, his auntie. Because Cat said I could stay the night over there since Kiwi trailer was so goddamn nasty I wouldn't sleep over there. And then Cookie came over there telling me, yo, she got to go. Y'all got to get that girl up out of here. Then the auntie said I could go to her trailer and she would rent out the back to me, and it was centipedes crawling all over the place. And there was a hole up under the door where everything could come inside. And then so I went to the grocery store to get groceries, and Paul came over there telling me I was going to have to get rid of my groceries because I didn't ask his auntie could I bring them, and the auntie told me I needed to give her friend my food stamps in order for me to stay. And I showed the auntie my belly. And the auntie was saying, oh, that's got to be after birth. Then she kicked me out that house. After they all took my food stamps. Then Reverend Stewart said that he had somewhere for me to go. That Angelica and Kelvin said I could come and stay with them, and he lied. They never did. So I called my sister and I said, I need to come stay with you. She said, well, I thought you were staying with your friend. And I said, well, you never said I could stay with you. She said, well, I didn't think you would need anywhere to stay. After I told her, after they knew they falsified them charges against me and they knew they was back there poisoning me, how the hell you think I didn't need somewhere to stay? They took my home and my child. But she said she didn't know I would need somewhere to stay like I had friends. You think some friends will leave me back there to be poisoned for 10 months? Will some friends allow that? But she over here talking about friends, so I went to meet her. Reverend Stewart took me to meet her in so-called Channel View, but it was off of East Sam Houston Parkway. And when I went to go and meet her, she picked me up, brought me to her house with all these rules that I couldn't have nobody come by her house to help me. When I went to her house, all the food was still in her home. And I had only $80 left on my food stamp card. And I showed her my belly and I said, touch it, please. And that was not the first time, because when I first got out, when she gave me the $200, I had to touch it and it was moving, and she was pretending like she couldn't feel it. And she didn't want to look at it because you could see it moving. Then I had called Andrew Jones, my so-called dad in Atlanta, Georgia, and I had already called Larissa from Cookie and Cat House, my sister. And I told Larissa, my older sister, I sent her pictures of my belly. And she said, yeah, it looked like you pregnant. And I said, but they not confirming my pregnancy out here in Texas. The jail lied and Conroe Regional Hospital lied. And she said, well, you probably need to get on the bus and go to another state and see if they'll confirm it. So she knew too. And then I called and she stopped answering my calls in the jail too. They all did. And they was poisoning my commissary with a little money that Andrew sent, and he wasn't answering my calls that much either. And then so I called Expectation Studio. They was the only ultrasound studio in the state of Houston, Texas, that said that they would do the ultrasound without me having a provider to confirm my pregnancy. And then I asked Andrew for the $40 and he said he wouldn't give it to me. And I hung up on him because I knew he was involved. And then Larissa told me that, Shakina said that Larissa or her would give me the money, but they wanted to know the name of the studio first. I didn't want to tell them because I knew they were involved. But I told them anyway because Shakina was going to have to take me because I didn't have my car anymore. They gave my car to Austin Matter and they gave him my apartment and my child after he was attacking the both of us. And they was all running up behind him because he was white. And because his mother was white with wealth. And because they had always been jealous of me my entire life. And so I told them the name of the ultrasound studio, and I called the white woman and set the appointment for 2 days later, and they all conspired for her to lie on the ultrasound results, and they followed me. When Shakina was taking me to my appointment, they followed me there. I signed in and the woman took the ultrasound tool and tried to crush it into my baby while saying she didn't see a baby, and I had to have her stop because I knew she was lying and she was hurting me. She asked, oh, what's the name of your provider, while she was crushing the tool into my baby. And I got up off of that. I got up off of whatever I was laying on. And I rushed up out of there. Shakina was like, oh, what did she say? And I was like, she said I wasn't pregnant with a big old baby bump right there. And that was what Shakina wanted. That's what they was conspiring to say. To lead me back there and let them try to paint your family member out to be a mental patient so they could steal my baby and lie and kill me as a blood sacrifice. So I went back to Shakina's house pregnant. And now she was leaving and there was no food in the home, and I was having to get online and call and ask me from POF if they would please give me money for food. A man brought me all the way out to Chambers County named Jakiba, saying that he was going to help me out with some money. I lied to him and told him I needed to go on a trip with some friends to give me the money. I never said I would have sex with him. When he brought me out to Chambers County, he forced me to have sex with him. He had a gun when he was bringing me back home, like he would try to rob me for the money back. When I got back to Shakina's house, they had sex trafficked me while pregnant. And he had given me drugs. So now they was painting me out to be a drug addict and a prostitute while pregnant. Then she told me that I had to leave her home after 3 or 4 weeks, and I was starving. I had started to lose weight. And all the men who I had to ask for food online was telling me I had to have sex. And they was asking for pictures of my body to see if you could still see the baby bump. Then I had to go to Jakiba's house because he was the only one I knew with a home. None of the other men would bring me to their house. They would only take me to a hotel. And when I moved in, Travis Gums was sex trafficking me for food. And they was pulling out guns on me. And Travis Gums, pointed a gun at me while I was trying to go to my child custody hearing because they sued me for my son while I was in jail, while they was poisoning me. They let Austin Better sue me for my baby while they was poisoning me in the jail. And Judge Tracy Gilbert gave him temporary custody of my baby. And he was attacking another woman and went to jail while I was in there fighting the charges while they was poisoning me while I was pregnant in the jail. Then his mother, Cynthia O'Vera, sued me for my baby while I was in the jail. And Judge Patty Maginnis was over my case. And Judge Tracy Gilbert set a trial date for Austin and Cynthia to sue me at a trial, and I won the hearing in the jail that they took me to against Austin the first time. But Judge Tracy Gilbert claimed that he could not give me my son because I was still incarcerated on these false charges. And they continued to poison me while pregnant. And then Judge Tracy Gilbert set a trial date for Cynthia because then Cynthia sued and filed me after I won the hearing against Austin. Then Austin, they staged something for Austin. He came to jail. And then Cynthia re-sued me for my custody of my child because I won the hearing against Austin. And now he was in jail for fighting another woman. So Cynthia sued me while I was in jail for temporary custody of my son. And her defense was going to be that I didn't have an apartment anymore after they gave my apartment to Austin, and that I didn't have a job, and that I was on food stamps, and that she was a white woman with money, so that she should have my child. And they continued to poison me, and then they released me after they felt like my pregnancy expired, seeing that the fetus was still moving and the baby wasn't dead. So now they had me they set a trial date for December 6th in Judge Tracy's family courtroom to sue me for my baby boy and give him to Cynthia instead of giving him back to me and helping us get our place back and helping my baby I was pregnant with. So now I was at Jakiba's house with Travis Gomes and Judy and Jakimba all conspiring to keep me from going to this trial date. And then when I went, they reset it and lied and said I didn't go to a parenting class that they never told me to go to, and I shouldn't have to go to the parenting class. I was tortured. And they tried to kill me for my son. And then Cynthia was saying she went to the parenting class. And everybody, it was a whole courtroom full of people. But on the day of the trial, before the trial, Travis Combs pulled a gun out and put it in my head after the second time he pulled a gun out on me and put it in my head. In Chambers County, I